The X factor of happiness. And let me ask you, first of all, what you think happiness is. Do you think money is the X factor of happiness? Do you think a relationship is the X factor of happiness? Maybe you think the job satisfaction is the X factor of happiness. Or you could think that the X factor of happiness is the happiness of everyone around you because you are happy when they are happy. We all have many of these thoughts. And so somebody recently asked in a class, what is the key to happiness? And you know what I said? Somebody asked me, what is the key to happiness? And you know what I said? Hell if I know. I know nothing, but Spirit knows all. So I yielded, I surrendered to Spirit. And I said to Spirit, so Spirit, what is the key to happiness? And Spirit gave this one simple statement. The one simple statement that Spirit gave was, accept all things as God, and joy is yours. Accept all things as God, and joy is yours. In other words, see the God, see the good, see God's plan and God's purpose in everyone and everything, and judge nothing. And as you see God, and as you see the good, and as you see God's plan, which always has a happy outcome in all things, you will retain your joy no matter what you or the world is going through. And I'm like, yeah, that's all very nice. And the person who heard it was also like, yeah, that's very nice, whatever. But how do we do this? And so I said, again, hell if I know. So again, as I was preparing the sermon, I asked Spirit for more than they gave me in the class when the person asked the question. And Spirit gave me an idea here. Spirit gave me the idea that judgment is the source of all discontent. When we are not happy or at peace, it is because we are judging a person, place, or thing. We are wishing it to be different than it is. And this results in frustration, anger, depression, fear, sadness, rage, and anything unlike love and happiness. So if we are able to suspend our judgments of things, because judgment compares what is to what we believe should be, if we are able to suspend our judgment, then we are able to allow happiness, for judgment steals joy. And just think about it in that simple phrase, judgment steals joy. And just say that so that you can begin to condition yourself to refrain from judgment. Judgment steals joy. And own it. Judgment steals my joy. Judgment steals my joy. Judgment steals my joy. And now own it even more. And you can work with these ideas as affirmations, and you can repeat them as I say them if you choose. Judgment steals my joy. Judgment steals my joy. Judgment steals my joy. I am the holy, beloved child of God, and I will not steal joy from myself. Judgment steals my joy. I am the holy, beloved child of God, and I will not steal judgment from myself. Judgment steals joy. I am the holy, beloved child of God, and I will not steal judgment from myself. Every time you're judging, and every time I'm judging, I'm saying, this is what God created as a lesson I would learn. But I want this instead. So I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm scared. I'm stealing joy because what God has created is perhaps a lesson, an opportunity for our growth, an opportunity for our healing, and it is something that our soul agreed to. So, because we came here to grow and heal. But when we resist that and we judge that and we withdraw our creative energy that can create more happiness and more joy, that judgment steals that joy. And we're only stealing it from ourselves. You think you're getting mad at somebody else, but you're stealing joy from yourself. You're mad at this political candidate, this political party, this thing, that other thing. Yeah, and that's understandable. But you're stealing joy from yourself. How can you get back that joy? How can you refrain from the judgment, understand the lesson, get the lesson, and move on so that you can reclaim and affirm God's will for you, which is happiness? Well, I asked Spirit about this, and Spirit gave me 3 points. So I'm going to repeat these 3 points and then I'm out. Number one, don't judge the book of life by one page. For those of you who like to write these things down, I'll repeat it. Number one, don't judge the book of life by one page. Number two, substitute acceptance for judgment. And number three, surrender all situations to God. So I'm going to repeat them. Number one, don't judge the book of life by one page. Number two, substitute acceptance for judgment. And number three, surrender all situations to God. So I'm going to go over these very briefly. The first one, don't judge the book of life by one page. This is a play on the idea, don't judge a book by its cover. So let me ask you this to make it really practical. How many of you have started watching a new series and gotten so hooked that you couldn't stop watching it, and the next thing you know, it was 3:25 a.m. on a school night? That's how I started watching Yellowstone. It's like, I don't know these people. I don't like these people. These are very unattractive people. I can't stand them. But let me see what happens on episode 2. Oh, these people are awful. I can't stand them. I can't relate to them. But let me see what happens on episode 3. All of a sudden, I was hooked. And it was 3:25 a.m. on a school night, and I couldn't wait to wake up. Not because I had the Course in Miracles call in the morning or anything like that. I couldn't wait to wake up because I wanted to watch more of Yellowstone. The point of this is the first episode to me was awful. The second episode to me was awful. But I watched the whole thing, the whole series. And in the end, there was a wonderfully satisfying conclusion. And the whole thing in its entirety was absolutely wonderful. It was an amazing work of art. So, how many of us have an episode in life and judge it? Is it just me? Oh, I had a bad day. Reverend Pileski still talks about this, so I can tell this story, and it's a story I'm telling on myself. This was back in the days of corporate work, and I had this most amazingly joyful, wonderful job that paid me all kinds of money and blah, 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 blah. And one day I came home and Reverend Pileski said, well, how was your day? And I said, it was awful. I had to sit in this stupid training all day, and I hate my life. And Reverend Pulaski just looked at me like I had lost my mind. You have a wonderful life, one of the most wonderful lives imaginable. You had to sit in training for a few hours, and so you hate your life? That helped me to put it back into perspective. Don't judge a situation by the episode in front of you. It could be part of a larger lesson that will ultimately bless you. The lesson is invariably an opportunity for you to seek and find God's presence, God's love, and God's grace where you didn't perceive it, and to heal those aspects of you that your soul came to heal. So, yeah, you might be having a bad episode, but in the larger scheme of things, this is showing you that in your unconscious, that you came to heal so that you can heal it, so that more of your consciousness can be in alignment with the truth, that you might be happy. So all roads lead to that happiness. And let's do an example of this. Let's do the example called stood up on a date. I don't know how many of you have ever experienced this example called stood up on a date. Has anyone else here experienced the example called stood up on a date or rejected from a job after a job interview or something? Wow, what is this really about? First of all, they do make for some bad days. But secondly, what is this really about? The date that stood me up, I'm going to own this for myself. The date that stood me up helped me to hear the inner chatter of my own inner doubts and doubts about my lovability. The job that rejected me caused me to examine my inner chatter about my feelings of deservingness. Anything that is a rejection may cause you to examine your deeper feelings about it, your deeper resistance to it, your inner saboteurs, and it may have made you aware of these things in order that you might heal them. It may have come in an unpleasant package or an unpleasant episode, but nonetheless, it leads you to the light. And that is very important. A Course in Miracles lesson 193 says that all things are lessons God would have me learn, and we came here to learn these lessons. But it's important to remember, this is just one episode in an amazing story of life. So I want you to own this. I am the beloved child of God. Work with me on this. I am the beloved child of God. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing life. I choose an amazing life. I choose an amazing life. I am the actor/actress in my life. And God gives me the Academy Award right now. Right? Think about it that way. And let me tell you why I want you to think about it that way. I want you to think about it that way because any actor or actress that won an Academy Award won that award in the midst of one of their most harrowing scenes. Any movie that won the Academy Award for Best Movie had a period in the movie with a great deal of dramatic tension. It was a part of the arc of the story that had a wonderful ending. Your life is the arc of a story that has a wonderful conclusion that leads you to joy. And if you don't believe me, believe the scriptures. Romans 8:28 said, all things work together for the good for those who love God. And A Course in Miracles lesson 135 said, if you only knew that all things, past, present, and to be, were gently planned by the one who would lead you to your good. And if you believe that, then just embrace A Course in Miracles lesson 292. A happy outcome to all things is sure. So the point of all of this is, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been through, no matter what harrowing episodes you have had in your life, do not judge them, for they all are designed to lead you to your good, your eternal soul, which is eternally deserving, eternally in bliss, eternally in light, eternally in love. Just took a detour here to earth to look at some misperceptions you had and to heal them. But the large arc of your experience is blissful and joyful, and you can get in alignment with that soul back to the bliss and joy and peace of union with God when you get out of judgment. So how do you get out of judgment? Number one, you find and replace judgment with acceptance. Realize this: acceptance is the starting point for healing. So you have to find and replace your judgment. And when you accept, you start the healing process. You are no longer on that downward trajectory of what you are judging, but you are saying, okay, I'm ready to turn this around. I'm ready to heal. So I will accept it as it is. Now, understand that acceptance doesn't mean I condone cruelty. Acceptance doesn't mean I condone this behavior. Acceptance doesn't mean I'm going to always resign myself to living in misery or poverty or difficulty. Or acceptance doesn't mean I'm always going to be angry. Acceptance means I will see this from a higher perspective, and I will open to see the lesson or the blessing in it. I will see this differently. I am open to the healing. So let me assess where I am. Let me assess what thinking got me there so I can correct that thinking and think the truth and get somewhere else. So consider acceptance assessment. Make those two interchangeable. Accepting isn't condoning. Acceptance is assessing. Let me assess objectively where I am. And when you start from that place of objective assessment by asking, what is the error in thinking that contributes to this experience that I don't like? What is the truth that I need to know instead of this? Let me see this differently. Let me see this from the perspective of the truth. So in that example, in the examples we used before, there's a date who stood us up or a job that rejected us. Let me see this from a different perspective. I came here to see what wounds I came to heal. I came to heal the wound of undeservingness. So these two things show me where I believed I was undeserving. God, cause me to remember the truth that I am your beloved child, deserving of every benefit and blessing of your grace. You can't get to that point until you accept where you are. Where you are is believing yourself to be undeserving. Where God wants you is knowing that you are deserving because you are God's beloved child. And making that leap requires assessing where you are. So accept where you are, which is assessing where you are, so that you can get to where you and God both want you to be. If you're down here, God wants you to be up here. Assess where you are, and God will lift you up. So accept and assess, and you will get back to happiness. And the third point I want to make here is surrender it to God. Surrender it to God. A Course in Miracles lesson 25 says, I don't know what anything is for. God can see around the corners that I can't. So God, I'm willing to let you lead the way. There's this common phrase right now, Jesus take the wheel, which is I surrender to the divine and higher power. I release and I let go. And I allow this higher power, which would always lead me to my good, to lead my life. For I always wind up in a ditch with my thinking. With my thinking about my undeservingness, I always wind up in a ditch. With my thinking about the world as a wicked, hostile place, I always feel victimized. With my thinking that God has deserted me, I get deserted by people and dates stand me up. So my thinking obviously isn't working. God, what do you think instead? Surrender it to God. Instead of me superimposing my judgment, tell me, God, what is this all about? Tell me, God, what is the lesson? Tell me, God, what is the blessing on the other side of the lesson? Matthew 7:8 says, ask and it is given. Knock and the door shall be opened. So when you ask God, God will answer. You just have to condition yourself. I just have to condition myself. We just have to condition ourselves to continually ask, to sit in meditation, to sit in stillness, to sit in assessment, to sit in acceptance, and to sit and listen to the voice for God. For there's a lesson in A Course in Miracles, God speaks to me throughout the day, but you got to listen. You sit and you listen to God. Ask and it shall be given. Knock and the door shall be open. Surrender is opening that dialogue with God. Surrender is opening yourself to the healing of God. Surrender is coming in communion with God. You know, in our male-oriented society, we have believed that surrender is undesirable because we've overvalued the male energy of doing and fighting, and we've undervalued the female energy of surrender. But surrender is actually the source of our power. For when we surrender the weak ego to the power and strength of God. When we surrender the ego that feels wounded and will only draw wounds to it, to the love of God that will bless us. So surrender is actually our secret superpower. So when we surrender to God. And this gets to the point of this sermon. The X factor of happiness is, of course, releasing judgment. The X factor of happiness is, of course, assessing and accepting where we are to move the trajectory up instead of down. The X factor of happiness is surrendering to God. Because, as A Course in Miracles says, God, being love, is happiness. So when we surrender to God, we are surrendering to the force for happiness. When we surrender to God, we are surrendering to the guide to our happiness. When we surrender to God, we are surrendering to the energy that activates the happiness that is our birthright and our natural state. When we surrender to God, we are surrendering to the happiness that has been there all along, that our judgment has occluded, clouded, blocked, or twisted. So when we surrender to God, God, being love, is happiness. So turn it over to God. God will lift you up where you're feeling down when you turn it over to God, because God is the X factor of happiness. God, being love, is happiness. Turn it over to God. God will inspire you where you feel uninspired and unexcited, because God, being love, is happiness. And the X factor of happiness is God. Turn it over to God, and God will encourage you where you feel discouraged, because God is the X factor of happiness. And God, being love, is happiness. Turn it over to God when you don't know what it's all about, when you were confused, when you were scared, when you are in doubt. Turn it over to God. God, I release this to you. I move this cloud out of my energy field that your light might fill that space. I turn this over to you, God, for you are the source of my happiness. Let me see it differently. Show me a different way. Cause these places within me that are hurting to feel your comfort and your succor and your peace and your love. I turn this over to you, God, for you are love, and love is happiness. And when you fill my mind and my heart and my energy field and my energy and my patterning, you fill it with love. So God, I turn this over to you. So yes, God is the X factor of happiness, because God, being love, is happiness. Turn it over to God, and God will help you see it differently. And God will lead you to love. God is the X factor to happiness. For God, being love, is happiness. And that's what I want to share with you today. Thank you so very much.